Everyone in the capital knew that the heir of the Marquis of Yongchang would not live past 20. I was marrying into that family to bring him good fortune, which would also mark the beginning of my widowhood. On our wedding night, I said to the pale, painfully thin young man before me, "Let's become allies. I'll cure you, and you'll help solve my family's difficulties." He coughed, then smiled. "Aren't you afraid I'll die and leave you with a reputation for bringing misfortune to your husband? As long as I'm here, you won't die." I was crouching in the medicinal herb garden, looking at the fresh shoots on a fang Sapochnikovia root plant. It was the first medicinal herb grandfather had taught me to identify. Fangfeng dispels wind and releases the exterior, and is used to treat externally contracted illnesses. Lu Wei came hurrying over in small, quick steps. "Young miss, someone from the Marquis of Yongchang's residence is here. They say the wedding date must be moved forward 3 months earlier than originally planned." I stood and went to the well to wash my hands. Lu Wei was beside herself. "Why aren't you anxious at all?" I replied. "You mean young Lord Xiao? I know he isn't expected to live past 20, right?" The heir of the Marquis of Yongchang was Xiao Ke. He had been frail since birth. Even the imperial physicians privately said that, if he managed to survive until the following spring, it would be a blessing from heaven. I dried my hands and looked at my wavering reflection in the basin. Grandfather used to say that my eyes resembled his more than anything else about me. But grandfather was gone now, and father had died of illness 2 years earlier. All that remained at home were my stepmother, my 12-year-old younger brother, and my 8-year-old younger sister. Huichun Hall, the medical clinic grandfather had left behind, had grown quieter and quieter over the past half-year. The physician who had once seen patients there had been lured away by the clinic across the street. Payments for medicinal supplies were being delayed longer and longer. The month before, my stepmother had pawned a hairpin just to scrape together my brother's school fees. In the front hall, the senior maid sent by the Marquis's household wore a neat silk vest. Her smile was perfectly proper, but her eyes swept over everything with open appraisal. "The young lord hasn't been in very good health lately," she said. "It would be better to hold the wedding earlier. A little wedding joy might bring a favorable turn to his condition." Her words were tactful, but everyone understood what she meant. They were afraid Xiao Ke would not survive until the original wedding date. If that happened, a joyous occasion would become a funeral before it even began, and neither family would look good. My stepmother clenched her handkerchief. "But this is far too sudden. Her dowry isn't even ready. The Marquis has already said that the residence understands the Shen family's circumstances. Everything may be kept simple. The Marquis's household will make sure she receives all the respect due to the heir's wife." After we saw the messenger off, my stepmother wiped her tears. "Jinner, you've been wronged." "I haven't." For the Marquis's household to honor the engagement at all was already out of regard for old ties. Years ago, grandfather had saved the old Marquis's life. While drinking together afterward, the elders of the two families had arranged a childhood betrothal. Later, grandfather retired and returned home, and the Shen family gradually declined. The engagement had gone from a fortunate match to a marriage far above our station, and now to a wedding meant to bring good fortune to the sick heir. My stepmother cried even harder. "What if something happens to young Lord Xiao? How will you live afterward?" "Mother, I'll be the wife of the heir. A household like the Marquis would never let me go hungry or unclothed even if the young lord were gone. You know our family's situation better than anyone. Jingrui needs to study. Wei needs to grow up. Huichun Hall needs money to keep running. This marriage is our way out." "And what about you?" she asked. "I'll live well." That afternoon, when I went to Huichun Hall, the neighbors had already started gossiping. "Have you heard? The Shen family's daughter is marrying into the Marquis household to bring luck to the sick heir. Isn't young Lord Xiao supposed to be near death? Such a fine girl is marrying him only to become a widow before long. What else can they do? Look at what the Shen family has become." One of the clinic boys was so angry that he wanted to go outside and argue with them, but I stopped him. They aren't wrong. For the Shen family, this marriage truly was the best way out. The betrothal gifts from the Marquis's residence were not shabby by ordinary standards. My stepmother sold a few more pieces of jewelry to buy me additional clothes, while I packed the things I wanted to take with me. As Lu Wei wrapped my belongings, she muttered, "Other girls marry with jewels and fine silk. Our young miss is taking an entire medicine chest. Jewels can be lost and silk will grow old. As long as I have medical skill in my hands, I'll never have to fear starving." The night before the wedding, my younger brother Jing Rui ran into my room. "Elder sister, why don't you refuse the marriage?" "I'll find work. I can support the family." I patted his shoulder. Don't talk nonsense. Your duty is to study hard and restore the Shen family one day. But that young Lord Xiao, he's a patient, and I've studied medicine. Once I marry him, I'll do everything I can to treat him. If I cure him, that will be our good fortune. If I cannot, then it is fate." His shoulders trembled. I took a small wooden box from the bottom of my medicine chest and handed it to him. Inside were the deed to Huichun Hall and several prescriptions grandfather had left behind. "Keep these safe. Once I'm gone, the family will have to rely on you." The boy accepted the box and nodded firmly. Before dawn the next morning, the wedding attendant arrived to do my makeup and comb my hair. The bright red bridal clothes had been sewn in haste and the workmanship was ordinary. Looking at the heavily made-up face in the mirror, I almost felt as though I were staring at a stranger. My stepmother stood beside me, wiping her tears. My little sister Wei clung to my waist and refused to let go. Jingrui stood at the doorway with red-rimmed eyes. Outside, the sound of wedding drums and horns drew closer. The auspicious hour has come. The bride must enter the sedan chair. Before the red veil was lowered over my head, I looked back at the house one last time. The apricot tree grandfather had planted in the courtyard was heavy with green fruit, and the medicinal herbs in the garden were growing lush and dense. It was here that I had learned to identify my first herb, memorize my first prescription, and decoct my first bowl of medicine. Now I had to leave. The bridal sedan lifted and swayed gently forward. Outside, the noisy wedding music mixed with the whispers of the neighbors. The procession is smaller than I expected. It's only a marriage for good luck. How grand did you think it would be? Poor Miss Shen. No one knows whether this journey will bring blessing or disaster. The sedan stopped, and someone outside announced loudly that the bride had arrived and the main gate should be opened. The curtain was lifted, and a hand reached in. It belonged to one of the wedding attendants from the Marquis's household. I placed my hand in hers and rose. Beneath the brilliant red veil, I could see only the toes of my embroidered shoes, decorated with paired lotus blossoms. Step by step, I crossed the high threshold of the Marquis of Yongchang's residence. As the wedding attendant led me through the corridors, only a few banquet tables had been set up in the main hall. The guests were sparse. It's only a marriage to bring luck. How much ceremony could there be? What a pity for the Shen girl. Lower your voice. The Marquise is right there. I followed the attendant's instructions and completed the wedding vows. The rites ended quickly and I was led to the bridal chamber. Red candles burned inside. The maids and older servants withdrew and the door closed softly. Only two people remained in the room. Me and the man sitting on the bed, my husband. The red veil still covered my head. All I could see were his hands resting on his knees. They were very pale, so thin that every joint was clearly visible. I sat for a while, but he did not move. Another quarter hour passed, and still there was no sound from him. So I raised my own hand and lifted the veil. The young man wore crimson wedding robes that made his bloodless face look even paler. He was painfully thin, the lines of his shoulder blades visible beneath the fabric. His phoenix-shaped eyes were delicate and refined, but dark shadows lay heavily beneath them, and his lips had no color at all. He stared at me blankly, as though he had not yet realized what I had done. Then he turned his face away and began coughing violently. His shoulders shook as he gripped the front of his robe. I stood, poured a cup of warm water, and held it out to him. His coughing eased a little and he looked up at me. "Drink, it'll soothe your throat." He accepted it. His fingers brushed mine and were icy cold. After he drank, his breathing gradually steadied. "Aren't you afraid of me?" "Afraid of what?" "Everyone outside says I'm about to die. My grandfather taught me that a physician cannot diagnose a patient by listening to rumors. You have to take the pulse yourself." He gave a quiet laugh. "You're not what they said you were." "What did they say?" "That you married into this household for wealth and status. That you wanted the position of the heir's wife, and that after I died, you would rely on the Marquis household to support you for the rest of your life. That isn't entirely wrong. I did marry you for my family. My brother needs an education, my sister needs to be raised, and our clinic needs to survive. This marriage can solve the Shen family's difficulties." The candlelight flickered. "But my grandfather was a physician, and I studied medicine under him from childhood. Since I've married you, I will do everything I can to improve your health. If I cure you, that will be good fortune for both of us. If I cannot, I will still fulfill every duty expected of the wife of the heir and will not allow the Marquis's household to lose face. Do you know how many bowls of medicine I've drunk or how many physicians I've seen? No. But I know that no matter how difficult an illness is, someone still has to try to treat it." He took a handkerchief from his sleeve and dabbed the corner of his mouth. Faint traces of blood stained the cloth. "You cough blood?" I asked. "Sometimes. It's an old problem. When did it begin? I don't remember. I've been drinking medicine for as long as I can remember. I studied him. His breathing was shallow, his lips faintly bluish. After so many years of illness, his body was severely depleted, and both his heart and lungs were probably weak. I brought some honey pills for soothing the throat. I made them myself with loquat leaf, fritillaria, and honey. Try one and see whether it helps. From the dowry chest I had brought into the room, I took out a small porcelain bottle. Don't worry, they aren't poisonous. I want to make a deal with you. A deal? I'll help nurse your body back to health, and you will cooperate with my treatment. In return, you will give me the dignity and respect due to the wife of the heir. We don't have to become husband and wife in truth, but we can be allies. Allies, he repeated, sounding faintly amused. Yes, if you live a little better, my life in this household will become a little easier too. We both benefit. His smile deepened this time. You really are straightforward. Talking in circles is useless. Your body cannot afford to wait, and neither can my family's situation. He reached out, took the porcelain bottle, opened it, and tipped one honey pill into his palm. He put it in his mouth and let it dissolve. After a moment, the tension between his brows eased. How is it? I asked. Better. Then take 2 every day from now on, 1 in the morning and 1 at night. Tomorrow I'll take your pulse and see exactly what condition you're in. The candlelight danced in his eyes. Aren't you afraid you'll fail to cure me and everyone will call you a quack? Of course I'm afraid. But I'm more afraid of never even daring to try. It was already late. From outside came the distant sound of the night watch. Sleep on the bed, he said. I'll take the couch. You're the sick one, you sleep on the bed. I'll take the couch. We argued for a while, and in the end he gave in and lay back down. I took a quilt from the cabinet and spread it over the soft couch by the window. Before extinguishing the candles, I glanced at the medicine jar on the table. The ingredients were ordinary key-tonifying herbs, but the doses were far too heavy. A person weakened by years of illness should not be given such powerful tonics. When the body is too depleted to accept nourishment, excessive tonification can do more harm than good. I silently made a note of it and blew out the lamp. In the darkness, Xiaoke's breathing was very soft, interrupted now and then by a cough. Shen Wanjin. Thank you. For what? For not crying or despising me. Go to sleep. We still have to serve tea tomorrow. At first light I woke. Xiaoke was still asleep. I quietly rose and took a packet of herbs from the chest I had brought with me. By the time Lu Wei came in carrying hot water, I had already prepared a throat-soothing medicinal tea on the small table by the window. Young miss, you're up so early? We have to go serve tea. The young lord coughed badly last night. He should drink some medicinal tea before we leave. Lu Wei hesitated. When I went to the kitchen for water just now, I heard the older maids talking. They said we were brought here only to bring him good luck. The Marchioness may not give you a pleasant welcome. I finished washing my face and handed back the towel. That's normal. If I were the Marchioness, I'd also worry about whether the daughter-in-law my son had just married could be trusted. Xiaoke woke soon after. He sat up looking even paler than the night before, then fell into another coughing fit. I poured him a cup of warm medicinal tea. Drink this first. It will moisten your lungs. He accepted it and looked at the liquid. What's in it? Monk fruit, malva nut and licorice. The dose is very light. It won't interfere with breakfast. He drank it, and after we changed clothes we prepared to leave. My mother's temper can be rather sharp, he said. Whatever she says, just listen. I understand. In the main hall, Madame Li the Marchioness sat in the seat of honor. She wore a dark purple front-opening robe, and her hair was arranged so meticulously that not a strand was out of place. She appeared to be in her 40s and was well cared for, though faint shadows beneath her eyes suggested that she had not been sleeping well. Beside her stood a woman of about 30 in a peach-colored skirt. Her features were coquettishly charming, and she covered her mouth with a handkerchief as she laughed. When we entered, the laughter stopped. Mother. Xiaoke bowed. I followed behind him and curtsied. Greetings, mother. Madame Li's gaze traveled over me from my hair to my embroidered shoes, examining every detail. Rise, she said evenly. A maid brought tea. I accepted the cup, knelt and raised it above my head. Mother, please have tea. Madame Li did not take it immediately. She studied me for several seconds before finally lifting the lid and taking a small sip. Madame Shen, I hear your natal family comes from a line of imperial physicians. Yes, my grandfather once served as the director of the Imperial Medical Bureau. Then do you know medicine? I learned a little medicine from my grandfather as a child. The woman in peach suddenly laughed. Oh, the young madam is far too modest. How could a young lady from a family of imperial physicians know only a little? Madame Li said calmly. This is Concubine Liu. I greeted her. Concubine Liu. Her smile became even sweeter. The young madam only crossed the threshold yesterday, yet the young lord already looks better today. It seems a wedding for good luck truly does work. Madame Li frowned slightly. I answered calmly. My grandfather taught me that a physician does not rely on ghosts or gods. We rely on the pulse and on the principles of medicine. The young lord is physically depleted. What he needs is gradual nourishment and rehabilitation, not baseless mystical explanations. Madame Li's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. Then tell me, how should Kier be nursed back to health? Mother, I observed the young lord last night. His constitution is weak, his qi is deficient, and his heart and lung function appear poor. For now, he should be supported with mild medicinal foods that strengthen his foundation, combined with an appropriate amount of physical activity. Treatment must advance gradually. As for a precise prescription, I must examine his pulse carefully before I can write one. Very well. If your grandfather taught you, your foundation should be sound. From today onward, you will take charge of Kier's meals and medicinal diet. Concubine Liu could not keep quiet. Would that be appropriate? The young lord's health is too precious to risk. What if what? Madame Li cut in. Madame Shen was raised in a family of imperial physicians. In any case, she will be more attentive than physicians invited in from outside. Concubine Liu shut her mouth awkwardly. Madame Li looked back at me. However, you must show me the medicinal menu every day. Every ingredient and every dosage must be recorded clearly. Yes. After leaving the main hall, Xiao Kei let out a breath. You spoke well in front of mother. I only told the truth. Concubine Liu has said similar things before. She insisted my illness depended on wedding luck and praying to Buddha. But no one has ever stood in front of my mother and said so directly that physicians do not believe in ghosts and gods. That's because I really did study medicine. I went to the kitchen. The kitchen steward was a plump older woman. When she saw me, her face filled with smiles, though her eyes were still appraising me. Young madam, what may I do for you? From today onward, I will arrange the young lord's 3 daily meals and medicinal dishes. Madam Wang, please show me the formulas currently being used. Madam Wang brought over several sheets of paper. One glance was enough. Every prescription relied on heavy doses of strong tonics. No wonder Xiao Kei's body could not accept them. The more they tried to strengthen him, the weaker he became. Who wrote these prescriptions? Imperial Physician Chen. Young madam. The young lord has taken them for several years. Starting at lunch today, change them. For now, prepare light dishes, lightly steamed base, and stir-fried spinach. I will compound the medicinal food myself. Madame Wang agreed. When I returned to the room, Xiao Kei was reading. He put the book down when he saw me. You're really going to take charge of what I eat? Yes. The medicinal foods you've been given are far too rich for your current condition. Those prescriptions were written by Imperial Physician Chen. He used to serve in the Imperial Medical Bureau. A physician must adapt treatment to the individual. I haven't fully examined your pulse yet, but your complexion and symptoms alone show that your body is too depleted to tolerate heavy tonics. If you continue taking them this way, they will only damage your vital energy further. I handed him the prescription I had just written. Take this for 3 days first. We need to regulate your spleen and stomach before your body can properly absorb stronger medicine. He took the paper. Are you certain this will work? I'm not certain, but grandfather taught me that when someone has been ill for a long time, the spleen and stomach must be nourished first. Only afterward should qi and blood be replenished. That is a basic principle of medicine. Everyone in this household is accustomed to giving me stronger and stronger medicines because they want me to recover quickly. Illness can strike like a mountain collapsing, but recovery comes like silk being reeled from a cocoon. Your body cannot be rushed. I held out my hand. Let me take your pulse first. Now? He extended his arm. The bones of his wrist stood out sharply, and blue veins were visible beneath his skin. I placed 3 fingers over his pulse and focused. It was extremely weak, deep, fine, and without strength, typical of a deficiency syndrome. The rhythm was also irregular, sometimes fast and sometimes slow. The pulse associated with his heart was especially unstable. Well, he asked. You were weak from birth and have been poorly nourished by years of illness. But the problem isn't only physical. You think too much and hold too much inside. Stagnant qi has accumulated in your chest year after year, harming the liver and spleen. On top of that, the medicines you were given were too strong. Your depleted body couldn't tolerate them, so instead of restoring you, they consumed more of your vital energy. His fingers curled slightly. Give me your right hand. I examined that pulse as well. Your liver qi is constrained and your heart fire is flaring because of deficiency. I released his wrist. You don't sleep well at night. You often have nightmares and wake suddenly in alarm. During the day you're exhausted and listless, yet unusually sensitive to every sound and movement around you. Am I right? Yes. Why didn't you tell your physicians? What would be the point? They would only prescribe more sedatives. Then I would sleep until I was barely conscious, and when I woke, everything would be the same. I still couldn't breathe properly. My whole body still had no strength. Sometimes I feel as though the only purpose of my life is to drink medicine and wait to die. You are not a burden, I said. I already told you, I am a physician. In my eyes you are neither the heir nor a burden. You are simply a patient I need to cure. But medicine alone will not be enough. You have to cooperate. You need to loosen the knot in your heart instead of keeping everything trapped inside. I know that's easier said than done. But at least you can try. My gaze drifted to the table. A half-finished painting lay beneath a paperweight. Distant mountains faded into mist, the water in the foreground was clear, and a small boat rested by the shore. The brushwork was not exceptionally refined, but the scene had a quiet, vivid mood. Beside it lay an open book. In the margin was a line of graceful handwriting commenting on a poem. "Did you paint this?" I asked. He followed my gaze and looked a little embarrassed. "I was only sketching, it isn't finished, it's beautiful. The water in particular has real spirit." The tips of his ears turned faintly red. "Really?" He suddenly said. "When I was little I wanted to become a painter, and now I'm a sick man who can barely keep himself alive. I don't even know how long I'll live. What's the point of thinking about such things? Why shouldn't you think about them? If you live one more day, you can paint one more day, read one more day, and spend one more day imagining a future. Don't you think I'm daydreaming?" Grandfather used to say that a person who no longer even dares to dream is no different from someone already dead. Your body is weak, but your mind still works and your hands can still move. Why shouldn't you paint? Why shouldn't you read? I pulled a medical text from the stack of books on the table. "Have you read this one?" "Yes. I look through it when I can't sleep. There are parts I don't understand, but I find it interesting." I opened it. There were notes inside. "Here you wrote that a pulse is like flowing water. Whether it is slow or rapid, there is always a reason. That's a very good observation. A pulse isn't something fixed, it changes, just as a person's emotions change." His eyes brightened. "You think so too? To treat illness, you often have to treat the mind first. When your state of mind improves, your pulse may naturally become smoother, and your body will absorb medicine better." He nodded. All right, what? I'll cooperate with you. Whatever treatment you prescribe, I'll follow it. But don't let too many people know, especially Imperial Physician Chen and the others. If they find out you've altered the prescriptions, they'll come looking for trouble." "I understand. I'll continue submitting the medicinal menus to Mother, but I'll adjust the doses and combinations. On the surface, they will still appear to be the same herbs, but in practice I will make substitutions." "You can do that?" Grandfather taught me several methods. Herbs with similar properties can sometimes substitute for one another. They may look and taste alike, yet produce different effects. "Then starting today," he said, "I'll entrust half my life to you. As long as you don't give up, I won't let go." Lunch soon arrived. The yam porridge had been cooked until soft, the lightly steamed base was mild in flavor, and the spinach was fresh and green. The medicinal dish was a small bowl of mild soup made with poria and white atractylodes, with almost no medicinal bitterness. Xiaoke stared at the bowl without touching it. "Afraid I've poisoned you?" He shook his head, picked up the spoon, and slowly took one sip, then another. "Well? It's not unpleasant. Much easier to swallow than the medicines I used to take." I smiled. Medicinal food isn't supposed to be unpleasant. He finished a bowl of porridge and half the soup. That afternoon, I went back to the kitchen. "Young madam, isn't this dosage too light?" Madame Wang asked. "A light dose is exactly what suits his condition right now. Don't worry. If anything goes wrong, I'll take responsibility." Only then did she stop objecting. By dinner, Xiaoke's coughing had already eased. After the meal, I made him walk slowly around the courtyard. A thin sheen of perspiration appeared on his skin, and afterward his complexion looked a little brighter. Before bed, I brewed him a new calming tea. As he accepted the cup, he said, "I finished that painting. Can I see it tomorrow?" He nodded, a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. "All right." Color gradually returned to Xiaoke's face, and his coughing became less frequent. The Marchioness came to visit twice, and the worry in her eyes visibly eased. Concubine Liu also came once. "Young madam truly is capable. It's only been a few days, and the young lord already looks much more energetic. It's because he has been willing to cooperate with treatment." Her smile deepened. Even cooperation requires someone who knows how to care for him. People as crude as us wouldn't know where to begin. I did not answer. At that moment, Lu Wei rushed in alarm. Young miss, young Master Jingrui is here. Jingrui, why would he come here? He's hurt. There's blood on his face, and his hand is injured too. The gatekeepers won't let him in, so he's outside calling for you. I hurried out. Several people had already gathered outside the main gate of the Marquis' residence to watch the commotion. Jingrui stood below the steps covered in dust. His left cheek was swollen, the corner of his mouth split, and blood streaked half his face. His right hand supported his left wrist, and his complexion was pale, yet his eyes were wide and stubborn, refusing to shed tears. Elder sister. The moment he saw me, his voice broke, but he forced the sob back down. What happened? I went straight to him and examined his injuries. Someone came to Huichun Hall to cause trouble. They said we were selling fake medicine. They smashed the clinic and tried to beat people. I stopped them, so they hit me. His left arm was badly swollen. At first glance, I feared the bone might be injured. The wounds on his face were superficial, but they still needed treatment. The gate steward looked uncomfortable. Young madam, it would not be appropriate for someone from outside to enter the residence directly. He's my younger brother. He's injured and needs treatment. What is inconvenient about that? The steward tried to speak again, but I cut him off. I'll explain it to the young lord myself. For now, send someone for a physician. No need, Jingrui said quickly. Elder sister is a physician. Fine, come with me. I took Jingrui to a side room in our courtyard. Lu Wei brought hot water, and I opened my medicine chest. Fortunately, I had packed these things with my dowry. I cleaned his wounds, applied medicine, and bandaged his face. When I examined his arm, I discovered that it was dislocated rather than broken. Bear with me. I need to set the joint. Jingrui nodded and clenched his teeth. I held his arm firmly, found the proper angle, then used one push and one pull to set it back into place. There was a soft click as the joint slipped back into place. Jingrui let out a muffled grunt. Done. Don't use force with this arm for the next few days. Let it heal properly. Hearing the commotion, Xiaoke hurried over. What happened? I briefly explained. After listening, Xiaoke turned to the attendant beside him. Find out which shop sent the people who dared smash the Shen family's clinic. Take my calling card to the magistrate's office and tell them to deal with it. The attendant bowed and left at once. Only then did Jingrui remember his manners. Greetings, young lord. No need for ceremony. Are your injuries serious? No, young lord. Thank you. How old are you? Are you still studying? At a private school in the southern part of the city. Xiaoke nodded, then looked at me. Your brother needs a few days to recover. Let him stay here until his injuries improve. That would be against the household rules. There is nothing improper about it. He's your brother, he's injured, and staying with his elder sister while he recovers is perfectly natural. Then he turned to Jingrui. The residence has a family school. The teacher is excellent. If you're willing, once your arm feels better, you may sit in on his lessons. Jingrui looked at me. I lowered my voice. Thank him. He bowed immediately. Thank you, young lord. I asked Lu Wei to take Jingrui away to wash and settle in. Xiaoke suddenly said, You handled his injury very skillfully. Grandfather taught me. A dislocation should be reduced as quickly as possible. The longer it's left, the harder it becomes to set. Your brother is very tough. That must have hurt, but he didn't cry out once. Children of the Shen family are like that. Anyone who studies medicine first has to learn how to endure pain. Xiaoke looked at me. You've been here several days and haven't once mentioned your family. What good would mentioning them do? I chose this road myself, so I have to walk it properly. But you still worry about them. I said nothing. Next time something happens, you can tell me. We're allies, remember? All right. That evening while I was changing Jingjui's bandages, he quietly asked me, Elder sister, does the young lord treat you well? Very well. Elder sister, you've gotten thinner. Have I? You have, he said with complete seriousness. I tapped him on the forehead. Stop worrying. I eat well and sleep well. The men who had smashed Huichun Hall turned out to have been hired by a newly opened medical clinic across the street. They wanted to drive away a competitor. As soon as the Marquis' household sent over its calling card, the manager of that clinic personally came to apologize. He paid compensation and promised never to cause trouble again. Jingrui recovered quickly. I sent him to sit in on a lesson at the household school. The teacher is really good. He explains things much more deeply than the teacher at my private school. When Xiaoke heard, he said, If you wish, you may come listen often in the future. Jingrui looked as though he might jump into the air, then hurriedly restrained himself. Thank you, young lord. I will study hard. Xiaoke smiled. 2 days later, it was time for him to return home. I slipped some small silver pieces into his hand. Study hard. Leave the family matters to me. He nodded fiercely. Elder sister, you have to take care of yourself too. After seeing him off, I returned to our courtyard. Xiaoke was painting. Hearing my footsteps, he did not even raise his head. He's gone? Your brother is intelligent and willing to learn. He'll have a promising future. I walked over to look at his painting. It was another landscape, but this time it depicted spring. Mountain flowers blazed with color. A stream ran brightly between the rocks, and the whole scene seemed full of life. It's beautiful, I said. He set down his brush. You didn't marry into this household only for your family, did you? You also want to prove yourself. To prove that the Shen family's medical knowledge wasn't wasted on you. To prove that you can cure me. I won't deny it. Then let's prove it together. Sunlight fell across his face. He was still pale, but no longer gray and lifeless. Alright, Mid-Autumn Festival soon approached. Xiaoke's condition had stabilized. The Marchioness visited more often now. Each time, she would hold his hand for a long while before telling me, "You've worked hard." Concubine Liu stopped appearing around our courtyard, but Madame Wang quietly told me one day that Concubine Liu's maids had been asking questions about everything. "Young madam, don't worry," Madame Wang whispered. "The rewards you give are generous. We servants understand perfectly well." The Marquis's household began preparing for the Mid-Autumn family banquet. Every branch of the family was expected to attend, including several elder uncles who had not appeared for a long time. Xiaoke became silent when he heard. "You don't want to go?" I asked. "It's not that." He paused. "I'm afraid that if I go, I'll embarrass father again." "How would you embarrass him?" "In previous years, I could only sit at the banquet for a short while before I had to leave. I would cough, struggle to breathe, and eventually have to be helped out. Father's expression was never good afterward. This year is different. You can sit through the banquet now." "What if?" "There is no what if. I'll adjust your medicinal food for the next few days so that you'll be in your best condition that day. If you truly feel unwell, we'll leave early. And we'll leave with dignity." He hesitated, then nodded. "All right." On the day of the Mid-Autumn Festival, I went to the kitchen myself to oversee breakfast. There was lotus seed and lily bulb porridge, light and soothing to the lungs, along with yam cakes to strengthen the spleen and boost qi. When Xiaoke woke, I had already selected his clothes. "You're wearing these today." A moon-white robe with a pale blue cloak over it. The colors were fresh and clear, making him look more spirited. "So light-colored?" he asked in surprise. "It's a festival. Besides, your skin is fair, light colors suit you." After breakfast, I gave him a specially prepared medicinal tea that nourished qi and yin without being too warming or drying. "Drink slowly. At the banquet, if your chest feels tight, sip some warm water. Don't touch the wine." "I know." He took a short nap at noon. At sunset, the family banquet began. The main hall was brightly lit, with 3 large round tables filled by members of the household. Conversation and laughter made the room lively. When Xiaoke and I entered, every eye turned toward us. The Marquis sat at the head of the hall. Seeing us, he nodded. "You're here. Sit." The Marchioness waved us over to the table beside her. We had barely sat down when someone smiled and spoke. "Oh, the young lord looks quite well today." It was Concubine Liu. Beside her sat a young man whose brows and eyes resembled Xiaoke's, though his manner was more brash and a trace of arrogance showed in his gaze. He was Xiaolan, Xiaoke's younger half-brother. Xiaoke nodded. "Thank you for your concern." Xiaolan stood and bowed to the Marquis. "Father, 2 days ago I obtained an excellent bow. I brought it especially today so the elder uncles could have a look." The Marquis smiled. "Very well, bring it here." Xiaolan ordered a servant to present the bow. Its body was made from ebony, its string from ox sinew, and the craftsmanship was exquisite. He tested it on the spot, drawing it all the way to full tension in one clean motion. "Good. Shuo's skill looks more and more like the Marquis when he was young." The Marquis laughed heartily. At just the right moment, Concubine Liu said, "Shuo only muddles through his martial practice. How could that compare with the young lord's reading and painting? Those are the real accomplishments." The words sounded modest and even seemed to praise Xiaoke, but in a military household where martial skill was prized, reading and painting did not count for much. Sure enough, someone immediately added, "Reading and painting are good pursuits, of course. But our Marquis' house descends from generations of generals. It's a pity the young lord's health is too weak for martial training." The atmosphere in the hall subtly changed. Xiaoke lowered his eyes. I set down my chopsticks. "Descendants of a military family do not have only the path of martial training," I said. "My grandfather often said that the civil and martial ways should alternate between tension and relaxation. Recently, the young lord has been quietly studying military texts and histories. His health still requires careful preservation, so he should not overexert himself. As for painting, Even Mother praised the autumn mountain landscape he completed a few days ago for its depth and atmosphere. The Marchioness nodded at once. Yes, that painting of Kier's was very good. The mountain forms were majestic and the brushwork was calm and steady. Third great uncle, who loved calligraphy and painting, immediately became interested. Oh, Kier paints landscapes now? Bring one for me to see another day, Xiao Ke answered. If third great uncle doesn't mind, I'll have someone send it over tomorrow. Good, good. At last the Xiao family has produced someone who knows how to wield a brush and ink. Just like that, the subject shifted. The banquet continued. Xiao Ke ate little, but he did not cough or show obvious fatigue. From time to time, I poured more warm water for him. After 3 rounds of wine, the room grew livelier. Someone started a drinking game. Xiaolan responded smoothly and won repeated applause. Xiao Ke sat quietly, occasionally exchanging a few words with the younger cousin beside him. I noticed the Marquis glance our way several times, surprise in his eyes. It had probably been a very long time since he had seen his eldest son remain among a crowd for so long. Halfway through the banquet, Xiao Ke pressed his fingers to his temple. I lowered my voice. Tired? A little. Then we'll leave. I'll speak to Mother. The Marchioness studied his face after I explained and nodded. Go, rest properly. We rose to take our leave. Xiao Ke walked steadily, his back straight, until we left the main hall and turned into the corridor. Only then did he finally exhale. Still all right? I asked. Thank you. For what? For speaking for me just now. I only told the truth. Your painting really is beautiful. The moon was bright, its light falling across his face. No one has ever spoken for me at a family banquet before. Then there will be many more times in the future. Shen Wanjin. Do you regret marrying me? I thought for a moment. No, why not? Because you don't treat me like a tool brought here to bring you luck. I regard you as my husband, as someone I can talk to. So do I. The night wind carried the fragrance of osmanthus as we walked side by side. After Mid-Autumn Festival, the weather changed quickly. Only the mornings and evenings had been cool the day before, yet now the north wind rattled the window frames. I instructed the kitchen to prepare extra ginger and red date tea, and draped a lightly padded brocade coat over Xiao Ke's shoulders. You don't have to be this careful. I'm much better now. That's exactly why I have to be careful. The greatest danger for someone recovering after a long illness is a relapse. The very next day, Xiao Ke's cheeks were unnaturally flushed. His breathing was rapid, and his eyes seemed unfocused. I touched his forehead. When did this start? His voice was hoarse. Sometime after midnight. I began feeling uncomfortable. I took his pulse. It was floating, tense, and rapid. The signs of an externally contracted wind-cold condition. His tongue coating was thin, white, and slightly greasy. You caught a chill. Were you out in the wind yesterday? I sat under the covered corridor for a while in the afternoon. I sighed helplessly. In weather this cold, why didn't you put on another layer? He closed his eyes. I forgot. I told Lu Wei to bring warm water and wrote a prescription. The Marchioness hurried over. What happened? Wasn't he perfectly well last night? He caught a chill. I've written a prescription. With 2 days of mild medicine, the fever should come down. The Marchioness looked at Xiao Ke's fever-reddened face. Imperial Physician Chen happens to be in the residence. Have him come examine Care. Mother, his symptoms aren't severe. Mild medicine should be enough. Imperial Physician Chen's prescriptions have always tended toward heavy doses. Strong medicine works faster, the Marchioness replied. Kier is already burning with fever. We cannot delay. Imperial Physician Chen arrived soon after. He was an old man past 60 with a narrow goatee. After taking Xiao Ke's pulse, he said, Wind cold has entered the body. Use ephedra and cinnamon twig to induce sweating and release the exterior, with gypsum, added to clear heat. I frowned. The young lord's constitution is weak. I'm afraid such a strong prescription will be more than he can tolerate. The physician stroked his beard. Young madam, I have practiced medicine for 40 years. If I have not treated 1,000 cases of wind cold, I have treated at least 800. This prescription matches the illness. Once he drinks it, the fever will fall. The Marchioness looked at me. Let Imperial Physician Chen prescribe it. The decoction was soon prepared, a bowl of pitch-black liquid. Xiao Ke forced himself to drink the entire bowl. Before long he began sweating profusely, soaking through his inner clothes. I stayed beside him, wiping away the sweat and helping change his clothes. By evening, the fever had indeed fallen, but he was completely exhausted. He barely had enough strength to lift his hand. Looking at how depleted he had become, my chest tightened. The fever had been driven down at the cost of draining his vital energy. It treated the symptom, not the root. That night the fever returned. This time it was worse. His entire body was burning and his mind was clouded. Imperial Physician Chen came to examine him again. The effect of the medicine has worn off. Give him another dose. No, I said immediately. He cannot take another one. His body is too weak. More forced sweating will further deplete his body's nourishing fluids. The physician's expression darkened. Is the young madam questioning my medical skill? I would not dare. But I am both his wife and the descendant of a medical family. I understand the foundation of his body. That prescription does not suit him. Then what do you propose? I'll use a gentler formula together with physical cooling. If the fever still hasn't fallen by tomorrow afternoon, only then will we switch back to your prescription. Imperial Physician Chen gave a cold snort and swept out of the room. I rewrote the prescription and ordered the servants to keep warm water ready at all times. We repeatedly wiped Xiao Kei's body with warm cloths to help dissipate the heat. He was delirious with fever, his lips dry and cracked. I dampened them with warm water, he murmured. I placed another light quilt over him and held his hand. His palm was burning and slick with sweat. It's all right, I said softly. I'm here. His hand tightened around mine. I did not pull away. Near dawn, Xiao Kei's temperature finally began to fall. By morning, he still had a mild fever, but he was conscious again. He opened his eyes, saw me still holding his hand, and froze for a moment before quickly drawing his hand back. Sorry, it's fine. Your grip is much stronger now. That's a good sign. For the next 2 days, I barely left his side. The fever subsided, but he remained weak and had to stay in bed. Every day I cooked yam porridge for him, pairing it with light dishes and nursing him back little by little. On the 3rd day, he could sit up. I helped him to the soft couch beside the window and put an outer robe around his shoulders. The sunlight was warm and bright. Thank you, he said. Again? What are you thanking me for this time? For stopping Imperial Physician Chen from giving me another strong dose. Every time I had a fever before, they treated me the same way. The fever would fall, but afterward I felt as though I had died once. Even after half a month, I still wouldn't have recovered. So you knew those prescriptions were wrong for you? I knew. Then why didn't you object? No one listened. They only cared whether the fever went down. Nothing else mattered. It won't be like that again. You argued with Imperial Physician Chen for my sake. Aren't you afraid of offending him? Of course I am. But I'm more afraid of your body collapsing. I'm your physician. I have to be responsible for you. That day, we talked for a long time. He told me that when he was little, before his health became this poor, he had loved going riding with his father, even if all he could do was sit on the horse while someone led it. He told me about a little white cat he had once raised. When it died of illness, he cried for 3 days. I told him about my days at Huichun Hall, learning herbs from grandfather and treating the neighbors' minor ailments, headaches, runny noses, and the like. I told him how Jingrui had once secretly eaten medicinal ingredients as a child and grandfather had punished him with copying exercises. What was your grandfather like? Xiao Ke asked. Very strict, but very kind. He always said that someone who studies medicine must have compassion and a strong backbone. When something is wrong and it is necessary to argue, then you must argue. You're very much like him. Am I? Compassionate but with a strong backbone. A bird flew past the window, wings fluttering. Before, he said, I thought my life would always be the same. Drink medicine, fall ill, wait to die. But now I want to live well. Why? Because someone believes I can. Because I trust you. Then live well. I went to the kitchen to check his medicinal food. That day's dish was chicken stewed with astragalus, intended to strengthen qi and nourish the blood. As usual, I first smelled the finished dish before tasting it. The smell was wrong. I scooped a little into a spoon and tasted it. Coptis had been added. The combination ruined the intended properties. Astragalus is warm and tonifying, while Coptis is bitter and cold. Used this way in a person with a weak constitution, it would not only reduce the benefit of the dish but could also injure the stomach. Who prepared this? I asked. The maid responsible for decocting medicines looked frightened. I did, young madam. But I followed the written prescription exactly. Show me the prescription. Chunqing handed it over. One glance confirmed that the original formula was mine, but someone had tampered with it. Who added this line? I don't know. The prescription was left beside the stove like always. Seeing the fear in her eyes, I did not press her further. Pour this entire pot away. Prepare a new one. I'll stand here and watch. Yes, young madam. When the fresh medicinal dish was ready, I carried it back myself. Xiao Ke was painting. He set down his brush as I entered. You're a little late today. Something came up. Drink this first. He took a sip. The taste seems different. I adjusted the formula. I added a little aged tangerine peel to regulate qi and strengthen the spleen. After he finished, I cleared the bowl and spoon. Starting tomorrow, your meals and medicinal foods will be prepared in the small kitchen attached to our courtyard. Why? Isn't the main kitchen more convenient? The small kitchen is closer, and I can supervise it personally. I'll feel more at ease. His eyes darkened. Something happened, didn't it? I hesitated. At first I had not wanted to tell him, but on second thought, this was not something I should hide. Someone added coptis to your medicinal food. The amount wasn't large, but if you took it over time, it would damage your stomach and cancel out the effect of your treatment. Do you know who? Not yet. The prescription was altered, but the imitation of my handwriting was very good. No obvious clue was left. They can't bear seeing me recover. I've dragged you into this. Now you have to worry about such things too. The day I married into this household, I had already thought it through. What household doesn't have its own internal conflicts? We are as allies. We're supposed to face these things together. Before, they only hoped I would die. Now that they see I'm not going to die, they've started making moves. Then let them watch. You won't just survive. You'll live very well. I went to the Marchioness and explained that Xiaoke's spleen and stomach were still weak and that the food from the main kitchen was not delicate enough for his condition. I requested permission to establish a small kitchen in our courtyard dedicated solely to his 3 meals. The Marchioness considered it. Very well, Kier's health does require careful nursing right now. Arrange whatever staff you need. Thank you, Mother. There is one more matter. I would like the small kitchen to purchase its ingredients separately, rather than having them pass through the main kitchen. The Marchioness's eyes sharpened. Has someone been tampering with things in the main kitchen? I did not deny it. I only want to guard against every possibility. Approved. Whatever you need, go directly to the accounting office and draw the money. Yes, Mother. The Marchioness loved her son deeply. She would not stand by if someone endangered him. After returning to our courtyard, I sent Lu Wei to choose several trustworthy older female servants for the heavier work in the small kitchen. I also went to Madame Wang. Since she managed the main kitchen, I asked her to keep an eye out for anything unusual. Concubine Lu arrived carrying a plate of sweets, a brilliant smile on her lips. I had the kitchen make these osmanthus cakes. I brought them for the young lord to taste. I accepted the plate. Thank you, Concubine Lu. Oh, we're family. No need to be so formal. How has the young lord been recently? Very well. He can move around normally now, and his complexion is much better. That's good. That's good. But isn't setting up a separate kitchen rather troublesome? The main kitchen has plenty of staff, and its cooking is quite refined. The young lord's health requires special care. A little extra trouble is worth it. She exchanged a few more polite words before leaving. Xiaoke came out and glanced at the plate in my hands. She sent those? Throw them away. There's no need. They're ordinary osmanthus cakes. Nothing is wrong with them. He frowned. You would really dare eat them? She's not that foolish. If she openly sent poisoned cakes, she would be the first person investigated. She only came to test the situation and find out why we're setting up a small kitchen. So you figured it out? I can tell she's uneasy. The Marchioness summoned me for a private. I've already warned Concubine Lu. She won't dare play tricks again. Even so, you must remain cautious. I understand, Mother, I will. You are a clever child. Kier is fortunate to have married you. By the time I returned, lamps had been lit throughout our courtyard. Xiaoke was waiting for me. What did Mother say? She said Concubine Lu has been dealt with and told us to be careful. I spoke to Father today. About what? I told him that from now on, everything concerning the food and medicinal dishes in our courtyard should be decided by you. I told him that you saved my life and that I trust you. What did the Marquis say? He agreed. Perhaps he also thinks it has been difficult enough for me to survive this long and doesn't want any more mistakes. Thank you. I'm the one who should thank you. Without you, I might still be drinking those deadly medicines. Or perhaps I would already be gone. It will only get better from here, I said, together. Spring arrived. The willow trees in the courtyard put out new buds. Looking at the fine weather outside the window, I said, let's go out. Out? We'll go beyond the city for a spring outing. Spring is when young qi rises. Walking outdoors will be good for your body. What about Father and Mother? I'll speak to them. I'll say I want to gather spring herbs for a new prescription. The moment the Marchioness heard it was for medicine, she gave permission without hesitation. She only told us to bring several more attendants and return early. The carriage left the city. Xiaoke kept looking out the window. He had not left the Marquis' residence in so long that he could not even remember the last time. Look, he pointed into the distance. Are those peach blossoms? I followed his finger. The hillside ahead was covered in clouds of pink and white. They're at their fullest bloom. His eyes shone like a child's. I had deliberately instructed the driver to use the smooth official road, so the carriage moved slowly. Xiaoke was in excellent spirits, and spent the journey telling me what little he remembered from the few outings of his childhood. When we reached a stretch of mountain road, the carriage suddenly jolted. The left wheel struck a large stone that had rolled down from the slope. The carriage tilted violently to one side. I had not even had time to react when Xiaoke threw himself toward me and shielded me with his body. Careful! With a dull crash, the carriage struck a tree by the roadside. My forehead hit the wall of the carriage and stung slightly. Xiaoke was braced in front of me. Are you all right? I asked quickly. I'm fine. Are you hurt? No. What about your hand? The attendants came running in panic. Young lord, young madam, are you hurt? I'm fine, I said. Check the wheel. The wheel was undamaged. The stone had simply been too large, causing the carriage to lurch violently. Several attendants moved the rock together, and the driver inspected the carriage before saying we could continue. Xiaoke's wrist had already begun to swell. Does it hurt badly? It's manageable, he said through clenched teeth. I pressed gently around the joint to assess the injury. It appears to be only a mild dislocation. The bone doesn't seem damaged. We should treat it now. I asked Lu Wei to bring my medicine box. Fortunately, I had a habit of carrying it whenever I left the residence. First, I applied a cloth soaked in cold water to the swelling. Xiaoke sucked in a breath. Bear with it, the cold will reduce the swelling. Then I took Nota ginseng powder from the box, mixed it with warm water into a paste, spread it over the injury, and carefully secured the wrist with strips of cloth. Done. Don't strain this wrist for the next 2 days, and don't get it wet. When we return, I'll prepare some oral medicine to promote blood circulation and disperse blood stasis. The carriage started forward again. The peach forest receded behind us, replaced by layer upon layer of verdant mountains, their greenery lush and abundant. When we returned to the residence, the Marquise heard that the carriage had met with an accident, and went pale with fright. Only after seeing that Xiaoke had merely dislocated his wrist, did she breathe a sigh of relief. You must be far more careful whenever you go out in the future. Fortunately, Jinner treated it quickly, or the injury might have become much worse. Xiaoke said. Fortunately, Wanjin was there. It was the first time he had spoken my name in front of his mother. The Marchioness's expression softened. Seeing the two of you like this puts my heart at ease. That evening, I changed Xiaoke's dressing. The swelling had gone down somewhat, though a dark bruise remained. Does it hurt? No. I looked up and found him watching me. What are you looking at? Thank you. You've said that many times already. And you've helped me many times already. Under the candlelight, his face still bore traces of long illness, but his eyes were now full of life. Xiaoke's wrist healed completely. Soon he could hold a brush and write again, and his painting skill had not suffered at all. Third great-uncle praised his work enthusiastically, and even invited him to a future tea gathering to discuss painting. One day, Lu Wei returned from the main kitchen with an unpleasant expression. Young miss, she said in a low voice, people outside are spreading terrible rumors about the young lord. What rumors? They say the marriage meant to bring him good luck was useless, and that his illness has already gone to the marrow. They say he only left the residence a few days ago because he knows he won't last much longer and wanted one final look at spring. Some are even saying the Marquis's household is only pretending everything is fine, and that sooner or later they'll have to choose another heir. I set down the small scale I was using to weigh herbs. Where did the rumors begin? I don't know, young miss, but they've spread very far. Even the tea house at the end of the street is talking about them. I had people investigate. The investigation traced the rumors to the residence of the Count of Chenggen, a family that had never been on good terms with the Marquis of Yongchang, and had been fanning the gossip from behind the scenes. The two households had been at odds for years and had competed repeatedly in recent times. This time, seeing Xiaoke's poor health as a weakness, the Count's family was trying to shake the foundations of the Marquis's household through rumor. The Count of Chenggen also had a daughter who was expected to enter the imperial consort selection the following year. The family wanted to suppress the Marquis household so that their daughter would carry greater prestige at court. The matter could have remained small if it were only marketplace gossip. Given time, ordinary rumors would fade, but if the talk reached the palace and damaged the reputation of the Marquis's household, the consequences could be serious. Sure enough, after dinner, the Marquis sent someone to summon Xiaoke. I went with him. In the study, the Marquis looked grim. You've heard the rumors outside, haven't you? I have. What do you think? They're only rumors. There is no need to pay attention to them. No need? The Marquis began pacing. The entire capital is saying that the heir of the Marquis of Yongchang is about to die. They're saying the Xiao family will collapse sooner or later, and you tell me not to pay attention? He stopped. The Count of Chenggen's household wants to use us as a stepping stone to climb higher. If they succeed, how will this household maintain its footing in the capital? How is your health really, if it truly isn't? Father, Xiaoqi interrupted, my health is improving, you know that. What good does it do that I know? Outsiders don't. All they have seen is that you've been sick and frail for more than 10 years. Now everyone is saying you're dying. I stepped forward. Father, I have an idea. Speak. Since everyone outside claims the young lord is gravely ill, then let him appear in public. Appear in public? Let people see his condition with their own eyes. The rumors will collapse naturally. How? Can Kier's body withstand that kind of strain? It won't be strenuous. He can attend an ordinary literary gathering, sit for a short while, exchange a few words, and let people see him. The Marquise fell silent in thought. What gathering? The tea gathering, third great-uncle mentioned. I continued. It will be held at Wangjiang Tower west of the city. The guests are scholars and cultured gentlemen, not a noisy crowd. The young lord only needs to sit for about an hour, discuss a painting, and exchange a few lines of poetry. What if something happens? The Marquis asked. There will be no what if. Tell father yourself. Can you go? Xiaoqi nodded. I can. After leaving the study, Xiaoqi did not speak for the entire walk back. Only after we entered our courtyard did he finally ask, do you truly think I can do it? What do you think? His fingers tapped unconsciously against the tabletop. I've never appeared at gatherings like that. Which is exactly why you need to appear now. Everyone should know that the heir of the Marquis of Yongchang is alive. And living well. Do you care that much about these rumors? Of course I do. Your reputation affects the future of the Marquis household and it affects my future too. We are tied together. You're right. I adjusted his medicinal diet again, making gentle warming nourishment the main approach, while avoiding anything overly drying or greasy. Xiao Ke also prepared himself. He selected a newly finished landscape painting and wrote several short poems. Third great-uncle was delighted when he heard Xiao Ke would attend. I invited you before and you always declined. At last you've decided to come. Several old friends saw your spring mountain painting and praised it. They've been wanting to meet you. The tea gathering was scheduled for 5 days later. On the 4th night, Xiao Ke said he could not sleep. I brewed him a cup of calming tea and sat beside him. Nervous? I asked. A little. I'm afraid I'll ruin everything. And if you do, the worst possible result is only that people discover your health truly isn't strong. But that's already true. There is nothing shameful about it. Aren't you afraid people will laugh at you for marrying a sick man? He asked. I knew you were ill before I married you. Now you're much better than you were then. I should be happy. He lowered his head to drink the tea. Steam rose between us, hiding his expression. Wanjin, thank you. You're thanking me again. After finishing the tea, he lay down and soon fell asleep. I stayed beside him for a while, waiting until his breathing became calm and even before getting up. The day of the tea gathering was bright and clear. Our carriage stopped outside Wangjiang Tower, where several other carriages were already parked. Don't be nervous, I told him. I'll wait down here. He nodded and stepped out. I remained inside the carriage and watched through the window as he walked away. Third great-uncle met him at the entrance and, smiling, led him inside. About an hour later, Lu Wei came out of the tower with a broad smile. Young miss, it worked! The young lord discussed paintings with several respected old gentlemen and answered them smoothly. His complexion looked very good too. I finally released the breath I had been merged. How did it go? I asked. Well enough. I'm only a little tired. Being tired is normal. How did it feel? Better than I expected. Those old gentlemen didn't treat me like a patient. They genuinely discussed painting and poetry with me. The carriage began rolling home. Xiao Ke leaned back against the wall and closed his eyes. Someone asked about the rumors, he said suddenly. What did you say? I said rumors stop with the wise and then I continued discussing paintings. I smiled. Good answer. He looked out the window, sunlight falling across his face. Father should have an easier time answering people now. As our carriage passed along the main street, voices drifted in from outside. Isn't that the heir of the Marquis of Yongchang? His complexion doesn't look bad at all. Exactly. He certainly doesn't look like someone who's about to die. Rumors really can ruin people. From then on, Xiao Ke's name began spreading through the capital's literary circles. People said that although the heir of the Marquis of Yongchang had long been frail, his painting was accomplished and his poetry full of spirit. Third great-uncle praised him to everyone he met and even invited him to the Spring Blossom Poetry Gathering at the end of the month. It was one of the capital's major annual literary events. Everyone invited had at least some reputation. When the invitation arrived at the Marquis's residence, the Marquis happened to be present. He looked at the elegant invitation card. Do you want to go? I do. Can your body handle it? The Marquis looked at me. I nodded, yes. The gathering lasts only half a day and won't be noisy. I'll adjust his diet and treatment in advance so that he is in good condition that day," the Marquis finally said. "Then go." Xiao Ke prepared a short spring-themed poem for the occasion, elegant and restrained in style. "Is it too plain?" he asked. "I heard some people at these gatherings write in a very bold, heroic style. Plainness has its own beauty. You shouldn't excite or exhaust yourself too much. Whether you paint or compose poetry, steadiness suits you best. Something clear and elegant may show your ease more naturally." The Spring Blossom Poetry Gathering was held at Lufeng Garden, east of the city. Third great-uncle proudly introduced him to the others. "This is the nephew I've mentioned to you. Don't be fooled by his youth. His painting and poetry are both excellent." Xiao Ke clasped his hands and greeted everyone. A raised platform had been built in the garden, with tables, chairs, brushes, ink, and paper already prepared. The gathering followed a simple order: first tea and discussion of poetry, then painting and writing poems on the spot, and finally a judging of the best works. Xiao Ke chose a seat near the side. I stood beneath a covered corridor not far away where I could see him clearly. Once the gathering began, the atmosphere gradually became lively. Some people improvised grand, vigorous poems. Others swept ink across paper to create bold paintings. When Xiao Ke's turn came, he stood and opened the work he had prepared. Distant mountains were rendered in pale ink. Nearby trees cast deep shade. A thatched cottage was hidden among the woods, with a stream murmuring past the door. The scene felt peaceful and secluded. He raised his brush and wrote 4 lines. "Spring mountains after fresh rain, green moss casts its hue through the screen. Bamboo shadows cross the writing desk, the murmur of the spring accompanies my reading." His handwriting was delicate and refined. Paired with the painting, it gave the entire work a distinct quiet charm. Someone immediately exclaimed, "Excellent! That line about the spring accompanying one's reading is wonderfully elegant." Yes, the painting seems light at first glance, but the more one looks, the more flavor it has. Third great-uncle stroked his beard with a satisfied smile. Xiao Ke returned to his seat. I had Lu Wei quietly bring him a cup of ginseng tea. He accepted it and drank slowly. Before the gathering ended, several elder scholars began evaluating the works. When they reached Xiao Ke's, a white-haired old gentleman said, "Young Lord Xiao's mountain dwelling at autumn dusk is tranquil, and the poem is restrained and elegant. Most valuable of all, the painting and verse complement each other. One can tell this was made by someone with a calm heart." Another elder added, "Writers today often chase novelty and difficulty and forget the beauty of simplicity. The young lord's work recalls Tao Yanming's line, picking chrysanthemums beneath the eastern fence. It has an unforced serenity." The praise was high indeed. Xiao Ke rose and thanked them. When the gathering ended, quite a few people came over to speak with him. He responded politely to each one, neither arrogant nor insecure. Third great-uncle walked beside him, introducing him along the way and praising him without restraint. Xiao Ke maintained a proper smile from beginning to end. "Very tired?" I asked once we were back in the carriage. But it was worth it." By the time we returned to the Marquis' residence, it was already late. The Marquis was waiting in the main hall. Seeing us return, he said, "I've heard about today. You did well." "Thank you, father. If you're tired, go rest. You have taken good care of him," I curtsied. "It's my duty." After we returned to our courtyard, Xiao Ke called me back. Today at the gathering, I suddenly felt that I'm no longer merely a sick man who can do nothing but lie in bed. I am Xiao Ke, heir of the Marquis of Yongchang. I can paint, I can write poetry, I can stand before other people." "You were always that person." He shook his head. "No, before, I was only a title, a name that might disappear at any moment. But now, I feel as though I've truly come alive." He stepped closer. "All of this is because of you. If you hadn't come, I would never have walked out of this courtyard. You walked out by yourself. I only gave you a push. No, you gave me a road to walk." After the poetry gathering, the Marquis began summoning Xiao Ke to the study from time to time to discuss affairs of court. When the beginning of summer solar term arrived, Imperial Physician Chen came for another examination. The old physician took Xiao Ke's pulse 3 times and examined his tongue coating. He murmured, "This truly is a miracle." The Marchioness asked anxiously, "How is he?" "His pulse is stable. His qi and blood are gradually replenishing. The young lord's condition can now be considered stabilized. As long as he continues to take care of himself, he should be little different from an ordinary healthy person." The Marchioness's eyes immediately reddened. After Imperial Physician Chen left, she took my hand, her voice choking. "Jinner, it's fortunate we had you. It's because the young lord worked hard himself. Without you, how could he ever have made it through?" Not long afterward, a guest came to the residence. He was an old friend of grandfather's, someone who had once served alongside him in the Imperial Medical Bureau. and was now retired. Hearing that I had married into the Marquis' household, he had come especially to visit. The Marchioness personally received him with tea in the main hall. Old Master Zhao was over 70 but still sharp and energetic. He looked at me and sighed with emotion. So alike, truly alike, especially those eyes. You see people in situations with the same clarity your grandfather did. I smiled. Grandfather Zhao flatters me. After some ordinary conversation, Old Master Zhao suddenly said, "Come to think of it, I was the one who helped connect your grandfather to this family in the first place." The Marchioness looked curious. "Oh? There was such a story?" Years ago, the old Marquis suffered a sudden critical illness. The Imperial Medical Bureau had exhausted every method it knew. I went to find your grandfather. He used his family's acupuncture technique and practically pulled the old Marquis back from the gates of death. The old Marquis was deeply grateful and insisted on repaying him. But your grandfather said that saving lives was a physician's duty and required no repayment. Later, the old Marquis said, "Then let our families become relatives by marriage." After Old Master Zhao left, the Marchioness held my hand and said softly, "Everything really is fate. You marrying into this household has been our good fortune and yours as well." One day, I was in the storeroom sorting medicinal ingredients when Xiao Ke came in. He stood at the doorway watching me for a long time. Then he walked over and took my hand. His palm was no longer icy as it had been when we first met. "Wanjin," he said very softly, "can we stop being allies? Then what should we be? Husband and wife, real husband and wife." My heart missed a beat. "When did this begin?" I asked. "I don't know, maybe the first time you took my pulse. Maybe when you argued with Imperial Physician Chen for me. Maybe when you stood outside the poetry gathering waiting for me." I said nothing. He looked a little nervous. Seeing his nervous expression, I smiled. "I am." He smiled too. Then he opened his arms and embraced me. Xiao Ke began preparing for the imperial examinations. His body still could not endure the exhausting study routine of an ordinary candidate, but he read for about 4 hours every day, accumulating knowledge little by little. With the Marchioness's permission, I opened a charitable medical clinic beside the Marquis's residence. At first, I treated only minor ailments, headaches, runny noses, and the like. But as word spread, more and more people came to seek treatment. Concubine Liu no longer came to make trouble. I heard that the Marquise had spoken with her privately. After that, she kept to herself and rarely appeared. Xiaolan was sent to the military camp for training, supposedly to temper his character. Jingrui often attended lessons at the Marquis' household school, and his studies improved quickly. He said that one day he wanted to take the examination for the Imperial Medical Bureau and inherit grandfather's medical legacy. Wei also came often to learn from me. I taught her to identify herbs and take pulses. She said she wanted to become a physician when she grew up too. Another spring arrived. The apricot tree in the courtyard blossomed in a haze of pale pink and white. I placed a small table beneath the tree and sat there pounding medicine in a mortar. Xiao Ke sat nearby reading. From time to time, he looked up at me and smiled. "Wanjin." Thank you. Why are you saying that again?" He set down his book.
"Live well."
A breeze passed through the courtyard. Apricot petals drifted down, landing on his open book and falling into my medicine mortar. He reached out and gently brushed a petal from my hair.